This is a quick video on how to approach using the Facebook targeting system. Mainly we're doing this to create personas. So if I went to the assignment, the first thing it says is follow the video to these steps. So that's what you're going to be following. Then it asks you to log into Facebook. Okay, do that. Then on a separate page, go ahead and open up a new tab and click this. Now here is one area where you might find a small stumbling block, and that is because of the redo of Facebook. And with people moving to the new format, not everybody's moved in the same direction. So a few of these things don't look quite the same. Other problem is, for me, I get to this page. That's because I've already had Facebook campaigns running in the past. When you go to this link, it should look like this, or you should immediately see a button that says Create. And as soon as you do, you'll probably end up on this page. And that's what I'm assuming that most of you are going to see the minute you click on that facebook.com/ads manager link. You won't see the thing that we just saw. The next thing that this instruction says is click Create and make sure you are on guided creation. Well, if you're sitting here, you're already in the guided creation. Some people may accidentally, the first time they use that, pop up and be on this, the quick creation. And it'll load and look like this. It'll have a lot less information and you won't see those targeting goals. So for some reason you end up on this. We don't want to create a new campaign from here. Instead, we want to go back to the guided creation. Although again, my assumption is that almost all of you are going to end up on this page. The next thing the instructions say is select the goal or reach. Yep, that's the first thing that Facebook's going to ask you to do. It wants to know, what do you want to get out of this? So most of the time people use these two things over here. I'm going to ask you to click the reach button. Reach means reach the largest number of people possible. Cool. Brand awareness is kind of like reach, except it's going to change it to people who are the most likely to be interested in you, and Facebook would define that as people who might have been to see your page before, or that you have friends like that. There's other goals. If you wanted to drive traffic to a website, you'd click this one. We're not doing that for today. If you wanted engagement, like you wanted to try to generate as many clicks, likes, comments, shares, fantastic. If you had video views, you could click this as your goal. And what that's going to do is, if there is a certain group of people in your persona that you're looking at who almost never stop and look at videos, they're not going to be included. If there's certain people who stop and look at almost every video, you could be focusing on them. So, bottom line, the next step here once we get to this create page is, what's your marketing objective? Click reach. And then the instructions say for you to scroll down a bit. You don't need to change the name of your campaign. It'll automatically be called reach, and then click the continue button. So what that means is after you click the reach button, just scroll down a bit and it's going to say, do you want to name it something other than this? Like you could call this mom or dad reach. I don't need to change that. Just click continue. Now over here on the side, it's going to show you the normal order that people go through on things. Fantastic. Again, we're never going to get down into here where you're clicking in your credit card number or you're typing up like what the fake post would look like. We're going to do that much later in the semester. So instead, you probably will not see the section called page. Your thing will look like this. I'm asking you to, again, click continue, scroll down to budget and schedule, and just either verify or set or change it so that the daily budget is $5. My guess is that almost all of you are going to end up seeing that. So I'm going to either scroll down to the bottom, or you could come over here and just click budget and schedule. And right here, budget and schedule. Daily budget, that's how most people should be set rather than lifetime budget. But if you need to, change it. It's probably going to default to $5. If it is, fantastic. If it's not, change it to $5. And then we're going to move up and we're actually going to start the targeting procedures. So now, let's scroll back up to the top. Age, pick a 10-year age range, focusing around your parents. So I'm just going to pretend to do this for my dad when he was 50. So if that's the case, I'm going to select the age range of 45 to 55. Okay, right here. I'm going to say age of 45 to 55. And if for some reason you happen to know that your mom or dad, again, you need to be focusing either on just your mom or your dad for this exercise, happens to be a different age range, you know that they're 41, well, why don't you do it from, 36 to 46, I guess. Make the range be whatever it is so that it's 10 years around and you're basically, your mom or dad's age is pretty much right in the middle. What this is going to tell you over here right now is that right now, since it automatically defaults to the United States as your geography, there are 38 million people in the United States who are 45 to 55. Cool. Now, the next thing on the instruction says to pick the gender. I'm going to do this for my dad. So I'm going to pick men. And as soon as I do that, it's going to tell me, okay, that's 17,000 men age 45 to 55 in the United States. Cool. That must mean that there are 21 million women. And then the instruction says, okay, so we picked our age range, we picked male or female. Now pick the geography. So this is going to narrow it down. Pick the city in which they live, plus 25 miles. So I'm going to come back up here, and right in this area here where instead of doing the United States, I'm going to say include, and then it's going to ask you right here to type in the location. I'm going to start typing Seattle. And at that point, it's going to give me several different Seattle Drive in England. Nope. Seattle Central Business District. Okay, well, that's actually kind of like downtown Seattle. Nope. I want to just go ahead and go for generic Seattle, Washington. Click on that. And as soon as I do that, everything here is going to change. The map is going to zoom on in. You're going to see Seattle with the check mark and then a range of 25 miles. And now we've gone from 17 million to there are 200,000 people aged 45 to 55 who are men living in the Seattle area. Okay, neat. Now we're going to come up here, and the next step is, after we do that, we're going to go to some detailed targeting. And I'm going to ask you to pick a couple of different types of things. One, under demographics, go to work and pick an industry that's the closest to the type of job that they have. So, I'm going to scroll on over here. If you knew the names of the demographics specifically, you could type them in. But what we normally do is we click on Browse. And then I'm going to go to Demographics. And then I'm going to scroll down. You could be picking education level. So if you only wanted to reach people who, for example, we're not going to do this, were in college. Or, here, I'll just click that just so we can see what that's doing. That's going to say that right now in Seattle, Facebook is going to tell me that there are 1,700 people living in or within 25 miles of Seattle, aged 45 to 55, who are men and are recording in either their bios or their actions that they're in college. Only 1,700. Cool. So I'm going to just uncheck that because I don't really want you to be messing with the education level, because for a lot of these you'd have to click associate degree, college grad, and a lot of these people don't necessarily put this on their bio. So I'm going to come back to just browse, and I'm going to say I haven't picked any education level. What I want you to go down to, you could check relationship status, what kind of parent they are. Are they a parent of small kids, high school age kids, etc.? I just want you to go to work and go to industries. Scroll down through this list, and I know it's kind of broad. So you pick the industry that you think that either your mom or dad is the closest to being into. And if they're not working, pick the one that you believe would be the closest that they'd be picking. Well, my dad is an electronics engineer, designing guidance systems for torpedoes. So architecture and engineering, I'm going to click on that one. And then I'm going to just click up here in the space to go ahead and say it's set that one. Now I'm going to come back on up here. According to my instructions, you need to also go to, under interests, 1, pick a business industry that is closest to this parent, and then 2, pick anything else that you want to. You don't have to drill down any farther than that. Later in the semester, I'm going to ask you to make something very, very specific, because this is telling me that there's only 2,100 people in Seattle. I might, with my $5, reach as few as 295 people, as many as 853 people. I'm going to go back to Browse, and I'm going to go to Interests, and I'm going to go find Business and Industry. And again, this is a place to kind of double check or verify. Now, a lot of these are like business. This is pretty catch-all. Again, just scroll down through the list really quick. But I happen to see that my dad, again, who's an engineering. So I'm going to click that. And that's going to increase the size of my possible audience from just the 2,300 up to this, 43,000 people. Okay, I'm going to click on a white space here. And then I wanted you to pick one other interest. Pick something else. So I'm not asking you to come in here and open up every single one of these interests and scroll through every single thing. You could probably focus on hobbies and activities, or you could focus on entertainment. Your parent loves to play games, and then that allows you to drill down to pick what kind of action games or card games or first person shooter games or online poker or whatever. Or you could pick that they love music or that they love to do reading or something like that. I'm just going to move around here and I'm going to say, I'm going to go to food and drink. My dad, if possible, I'm going to click food, just know him, would pick pizza to eat pretty much for every single meal. So that's my 1 second interest of any kind. You do not need to pick any further than that. So again, I'm going to sit here and stare, and that's going to say now for people in Seattle who are 45 to 55, males, who happen to work in architecture and engineering, verifying that by saying engineering into this business and industry, and the one other interest is pizza. I'm basically creating a persona. My dad's first name is Bob, so maybe I could end up, if I wanted to save this, which you don't have to do that, I could pick Bob right here. It would mean that I would be able to potentially reach 64,000 people in Seattle, and for my $5 a day, I could get this message, if I wanted to, in front of somewhere between 1.5 thousand to 4.3 thousand people, which is still a pretty big range. The more of these things I check, which I'm not asking you to do, the narrower this range would change. Maybe it would be 800 to 900, 800 to 1,000. This is still pretty big, but this is fine for what we wanted to do today. Again, the age, the gender, the work industry, verifying with an interest of the related business and industry, and one additional interest, food and drink, hobby, anything else like that. And so then to be able to turn this in, here's my example. All you need to do is just come back and you could copy and paste this whole thing, and including from my dad, and for your response that you'd enter onto Canvas, just make sure this says from my mom or dad, what the age range you picked was, what the gender was, the city plus 25,000 miles, and then again, this is the summary that from the demographics work industry, it was architecture and engineering, interests, business and industry, engineering, everybody will have these two. And then this last one, interest, I chose food and drink, pizza, what my potential reach was, and what my estimated daily results are. And that's all you have to do to be able to complete this assignment. And then at that point, you honestly could just close the page. You could hit save this audience, or you could just click to leave, and when you leave the site, changes may not be saved. Cool. Don't be horribly surprised to sometime in the next 24 hours after doing this getting one notification from Facebook that, do you still want to work on this ad? At that point, if you were to, not all of you will get that, but a few of you might, just say no, and it's not going to come back and remind you.